If you're watching this, it's probably April, and the second season of The Last of Us show should about to be premiering or already finished, depending on how long I take to edit. Now, if you're like me, you probably can't really remember anything from the second game, deservedly, apart from the polarizing views on it. So I'm going to touch on that in this video too. So basically, there's going to be 4 different parts to this video. One, the recap of the OG Last of Us and the DLC. 2, a slightly more in-depth recap of the Last of Us Part 2 game with, a couple thoughts and so on, because like all the cutscenes are as long as Pyrocynical's Utopia video. And 3, there's the reviews and what people thought of it from like 5 years ago to like maybe like yesterday or something, I don't know. And then 4, finally, is what I hope to see in the show and what I hope that they add on to make it better or what they keep and so on. So let's get into it. In the original Last of Us, which I consider a masterpiece all by itself, we have Joel, a single father to Sarah, his daughter, and the introduction is day 0 of the outbreak. Tons of craziness and fear as them and Tommy, Joel's brother, try to leave the city together. If you've ever heard of video games in your lifetime, you know what happens. Anyway, 20 years later, Joel is trying to make a living by being a smuggler with Tess, and in an attempt to get back some guns from Marlene, they agree to smuggle Ellie out of the quarantine zone. So start of the game, basically. Of course, Ellie is very important, found to be immune to the cordyceps and the spores. And so Joel and Tess are very hesitant about this. But as they are escaping the military later and choosing whether to venture forth or not, Tess reveals that she gets bit earlier and convinces Joel to continue on. She believes that Ellie is the last hope for humanity having a chance against the infected. On the way, they meet Bill, who gets them a car, be it very hesitantly, and standoffishly. We see the other side of people getting bit and not wanting to turn, in the case of Bill's partner who took his own life. I don't know if that's allowed on YouTube. We'll see that. Through their trips across the US, Ellie and Joel discover more about the world, running into many different situations from infected to ambush and military, blah blah blah. And Joel starts to trust Ellie more and more, not as something to protect, but as someone who can actually have his back and can actually help him, You know? You know. On the road again, they meet Henry and Sam, the 2 brothers. They work together and they trust each other, helping each other get through this place. Uh, no clue. And guess what? The only person that Ellie actually likes and meets on this journey, guess what happens to him? He gets bit. Had to get put down by Henry before turning the gun on himself because he felt like he couldn't go on without his little brother. He felt guilty. Now Ellie wants to talk about it. Joel doesn't. In the end, they quietly get to Jackson and meet Tommy and his wife Maria. This is where I believe one of the biggest inflection points of the story. We have Joel reminded of Sarah. He wants to stop here and let Maria go the rest of the way with Ellie instead. He knows this and tells it to them. Unfortunately, Ellie overhears this and leads to her being overwhelmed. Finally tells us what she's thinking of what she's witnessing and how she feels. Joel hears this and thinks Ellie has grown attached, too attached. He gets angry at the fact that Sarah was brought up, angry at the fact that he's being relied on, and angry at the fact that maybe he's starting to get attached too, He says he doesn't care, he's not her dad and she's not his daughter, and they should split from here on out. I also don't like the fact that you can see Ellie physically dejected here, and oh my god, it hurts. But it's fine, the horse ride to the nearest area, I believe Joel, He looks like he reflected on his words, and by the end, he sticks with Ellie and he knows he's grown attached to her too. You know how it be. That Firefly talks of going to Salt Lake City. So unfortunately, Joel gets hurt by some rebar, which like forces Ellie to be like the sole protector or the I don't know what the word is during winter. And anyway, we see her grow as a hunter. She's less trusting, more confident with her weapon skills. You know, she has a favorite, which is the bow. We also know that she's also stitched up Joel because of the Left Behind DLC. And while getting food, she runs into some guys and they promise to give medicine in exchange for the deer. Now, Ellie is pretty unlucky, so of course they are nice. They're cannibals. They're cannibals and not in the gay way, okay? And that's like already bad, and like you're kidnapped and they killed the fucking horse. Why would you do that? What the hell did the horse do to you? What the hell did the horse do to you? Huh? Huh? Why? It's fine. It's fine. So like Joel gets up like Superman or something. He goes off to like save Ellie. Here we see the extent of, Joel being protective of Ellie. He's literally torturing the goons to find out where she is while literally still having the effects of being shish kebabbed. Now, Ellie in the fight with David in that burning bridge on the brink of death, she finally gets a knife to level the playing field in one of the most emotionally charging portions of the game. She fights back and while filled with emotion, goes all out with the knife, rightfully, before getting stopped by Joel who brings her into a hug. I think here on out is where you see the max father-daughter bonding moment between them. Joel, I think, maybe starts calling her kiddo for the first time.
Okay, apparently I lied. He does say kiddo somewhere before this. So you know what? That's my bad. That's my fault. Okay. So sorry about that. Why are you still here? This the you can cut away now. It's this is nothing. Just cut right here. Okay. Just put this into the editing. Just oh my god. Can you like fuck?
It's now the end game. We get one of the best shots of the game, which is, of course, the giraffe. While traversing the terrain, they get caught in a particularly tough place and taken by the fireflies. And when Joel finally wakes up, you know, Ellie's already being prepped for surgery, one that would kill her, as Marlene explains. Basically, cordyceps, brain, Ellie, immune, take that out, vaccine, dead. Joel becomes mad, goes after her, kills the surgeon, takes Ellie, shoots his way out before encountering Marlene, who tries to convince him, don't give up the chance of, saving humanity, saving us all, blah, blah, blah. Now look here, okay? Marlene isn't even that offensive, like dangerous. She puts her gun down. She wants Ellie to be used for a cure. And she knows that she's maybe the only chance the Fireflies or the world will ever have if only Joel will let her go. Now, at this point, we know Joel's like, how he treated those cannibal dudes. He shoots her. And as Marlene begs and pleads to be left alive, she probably would have had a hard time nursing herself back to health anyway since she was like shot in the stomach or something, right? But he shoots her point blank because she might go after Ellie. Out of the hospital, he lies to her about everything. He lies to Ellie. He lies about there being dozens like her. He lies about fireflies giving up on finding a cure. And while coming into Jackson, face to face with Ellie, Joel doubles down on the lie. This bond they created has simultaneously now the strongest and the most fragile that it will ever be. In this game, we get background on Ellie cut up by her during winter when she's finding meds for Joel who got, shish kebab. And we learned that she used to be in the school for training military recruits and she had a best friend, Riley, that left for her for a bit as she got recruited by the Fireflies, the opposition to the military. Riley wants to catch up, so she wants them both to explore this nearby mall in the quarantine zone. One last hurrah. Okay? Now over there they do the normal cutesy stuff all kids want to do, merry-go-round, photo booth, water gun fight, then And then Riley drops the bomb, She came back because she knew that Ellie's the only person that she would listen to, okay? And Ellie asks her to stay, just stay. And she does. The gay, lesbians, good for them, good for them. Now, unlike me, the infected are homophobic, so they swarm them, Riley and Ellie are getting rushed by the clickers, and unfortunately both get bitten. Now keep in mind, here in Riley's speech we can see why Ellie keeps fighting so hard for survival and for Joel.
There are a million ways we should have died before today. And a million ways we can die before tomorrow. But we fight for every second we get to spend with each other. Whether it's 2 minutes or 2 days, we don't give that up.
Listen, we all know about the sequel. You know about the sequel. I know about the sequel. My neighbors probably know about the sequel by how loud I am right now. But basically, we all know about the sequel, especially the intro. But there's, of course, the intro before the intro, Joel showing off his guitaring skills and reminding her that he promised guitar lessons to her. A small glimpse into their everyday life before Joel and Tommy get sent out in the morning for recon because of like the uptake in infected before Ellie and Dina is sent later on. We also see a basic overview of what happened last night. We're also introduced to Abby, you know who, and her crew who were all searching for a man. Which man? What do you think? Well, of course, it's the same man helping them defend from a bunch of infected. Yeah. You can also tell something's up too, because when they get Joel's name, Abby, disbelief, like, oh my god, the guy I'm trying to kill is right here helping me. Woohoo! And the others are also just like amazed, like, what the? Okay. Also, I would like to, point out, backtrack a bit, about Joel's aura, I don't legend, something like that, myths or something. Like in the first game he was built up as some sort of like myth, he was like known for being the smuggler and the smuggler guy with like the little girl, and then it probably got blown up over the years, like him being someone or something unkillable. And now he's here, leg just shot off, and they still have like two people pinning him down, this like what 56-year-old man, he should be at the club, listening to country music or something. I don't know, but he's here, with people pointing guns at him like he's going to beat like 8 fully armed people in this state, leg short of arm. Listen, I know he was shish kebab before. Even he was like almost dying. Well, you know what happens.
So
5 years.
no!
Never gets easier. Back in Jackson, after that ordeal, Tommy checks up on Ellie, making a promise that, she won't run off immediately to go after Abby's crew in Seattle without any gear or backup. So she stays. Unlike Tommy, who leaves the next morning, I guess revenge runs in the family or something. I don't know. But at least, he hugged his niece before like going off, Marie later lets Ellie and Dina off too, because like I guess she also knows like it runs in the family. And also she doesn't want her husband to get killed. Simple like that, so they go off on an adventure. Tommy, like the revenge, keeps family tradition of torturing people the same way as Joel. Well, so does Ellie, like later on, the
He was using them against each other.
method. And guess what? They heard another horse. What is this hell we're living in? You know what? That's a lie. It's not a big deal. It's for plot, I guess, and like it's just moving forward. I'm gonna be sick. Like Dina, but unlike her, I'm not pregnant. That's right. News just in. She's probably showing signs of like morning sickness. Like think about it. She's killed like multiple infected. and seeing like multiple rotting bodies of like normal humans like the entire time, right? Like, yes, a bit like worried or like taken aback, but like never sick until right now. And you can also see like, it looks like her back's killing her right now, you know? She has to be pregnant. But they find one of the crew members, dead, and pictures of the rest of the gang. And it also seems that the WLF, the crew people, are at war with the Scars, Seraphites, which I looked up. So we also get confirmation for each other, one being that Dina's pregnant and the other being Ellie immune to the spores and the cordyceps and what the fuck is that? I don't see that. Anyway, they fight and they fight. And we get like a flashback to years ago. Ellie being a kid and Joel being a dad. And, it's so cute and all. And, whilst exploring more, there's a shot of Ellie looking at some like graffiti, the firefly symbol, with the words liars scrolled across it or underneath it. And she seems to be nervous or like sad about this. And I feel it makes the pain of finding out about Joel's lie even worse. Because like the fireflies were promising people that they will find a cure. And Ellie was most likely like their only shot at it for at least a long while. And I guess it just makes the pain even worse. Okay, nobody broke in, so that's good. This never goes out. You know what happened. Wait. Back in present day Seattle, Dina figures out where Tommy is and like some of the WLF stuff or the wolf. I don't know what I'm gonna say in the future. She stays back at home, because of the BB. And on the way, Ellie gets fake kidnapped by Jesse. And like they go and play like the Uncharted 4 like scene car chase thingy. And we also get another flashback. Woo! Yahoo! So it's family bonding with Tommy meeting with Joel. You can tell that, oh, I don't know what that was. You can also tell that they are father and daughter because, like, look at them. They're sitting the same way. They're sitting the same way. Yeah, I think that's it. They find the bodies of two couples that left Jackson like last year and got bitten, almost exactly like what happened with her and Riley back in DC. Ellie starts to really push for questions about her immunity and the fireflies, and Joel pushes right back, bringing in the dead kids to force Ellie to like stop. Back to reality, Ellie is finding another WLF crew, wolf crew, Nora, and we see more about these Scars who seem to have things kind of like a cult-like mentality. Makes sense, their full names are Seraphites, but they talk about sin, and Nora later on tells us about what Joel has done. He's killed so many people that were in his path, and she thinks that he deserved what he got to him, and of course in the ways of her father. Ellie gets her to talk in the same way, enough to make her hands shake. We get another flashback about how Ellie found out about her being the only immune person, big fight with her and Joel, which kind of breaks apart their fragile relationship that was built on at the end of the first game. Back to reality, Jesse is suspecting that Dina's pregnant, and then they all set off for Abby once again. Here's Jesse basically telling us like the main conflict of like the entire story.
You ever worried they're gonna come back to Jackson after us?
What do you mean?
I mean, we're going through a lot of their people. In their city.
Because of what they did.
Didn't Abby and her friends come to Jackson because of something Joel did?
This place isn't like Jackson. I mean, Joel and Tommy helped Abby when she got attacked. These people are trying to kill everyone around them. I mean, they shot you on sight, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
We hear chatter about a sniper spotted by the wolf people, and Jesse wants to go help Tommy because, it's most likely Tommy. But Ellie wants to go after Abby. So I feel like this is where like we as a viewer kind of gets like confirmation that Ellie is just not the same anymore, She's starting to get consumed by revenge, going after Abby, and like old Ellie will probably go after Tommy, okay? She knows him. They're like homies, they're related. He's the first one that like went to her, like calmed her down after Joel's passing. And here, even after like her and Jesse split, you can see that she seems to be more on edge, tougher, ruthless. And she kills Mel and Owen before even like giving Abby's whereabouts, right? With the getting information scene. And, she starts to feel really remorseful when she realized that Mel was pregnant, similar to Dina. Tommy and Jesse, off in their side quest, are planning how to get back home. They had already killed all of Abby's crew except for the man, the myth, the legend, And they meet Ellie, have a heart to heart and whatever, and bam! Shouting for Tommy. Who is it? Guess. At this point, Ellie shouldn't be surprised. Come on, like, we killed her entire crew, from that expedition. The expedition that she ran, who killed her dad. That was the revenge of the revenge of the revenge. But, like, uh, anyway, Jesse dies. I liked him too. He didn't even know he was a dad, We get how first Abby flashback, showing how good her dad is, saving zebras. And, like, that was right before at least, like, surgery too. And, Abby's dad, knew about the cause of this surgery. And, like, Marlene knew too. And, like, she didn't want her to die. It's funny because he would save Abby if he was in Joel's shoes. But Abby would want her to be put up for the surgery if she was in Ellie's shoes. There's too many names here right now. Like, they're both shown as two sides of the same coin, Abby and Ellie are so similar. Both have fathers that want to protect them, and Abby claims, she wants to do the surgery. She was like in Ellie's shoes. They both have somebody who's pregnant, so on and so forth. I'll talk about this later. From here on out, we play the game from her point of view, Abby's point of view. And it's on the same timeline as Ellie, starting from when Ellie left Seattle. No, when Ellie left Jackson to go to Seattle. This part of the story is to, like, get us to, sympathize with Abby, be like, yo, she got friends and a family and loves too, or whatever, and like a mundane life. But, like, come on. Look at me. Who, who do you think I support? Who do you think I am a number one supporter of, okay? Even if Alice the dog is there, who do you think I support? There's also the slogan, motto.
May your survival be long.
And may your death be swift.
It sounds more like something like a military group would say rather than like people who are just, I guess, living life and like living defensively. Anyway, quick overview of, this thing. Abby gets friends, went out to search for one of them, gets caught in a predicament, gets saved by some cast out scars, help the kids back, which is Lev and Yara. And Lev, we get some info that he got outcast because he shaved his head. And also because like he's transmask. So yeah. And all these parts just show us that, Abby's a human and has a fear of heights and like caring for each other and like needing help from people, so on and so forth. These parts of the games, we see it from Abby's point of view. So of course, the WLF is gonna seem better than the Seraphites, But moments like these, okay, seem so militaristic, like, of course, the person who runs the place touches them for information is his own, like, soldiers, right? This is just like a military place, helping Lev and Yara, and she encounters Tommy, who kills Manny, one of her friends that was also in that expedition, and fights with her, Lev runs away, and that's how we got to the Scar settlement, along with the WLF also coming in there. Abby puts her life on the line, protecting them against the Scars in the WLF, even killing her own, and escaping with her and Lev, which Yara sadly, rest in peace, bro. And they all leave Haven, which is the name of this place, which is now filled with Scars, WLF, and friends that like died on the way while fighting. They return to find Owen and Mel, the two people, and Alice the dog, dead. Of course, Abby sees this like, oh my god, the guy who must have been trying to kill me must have killed them, so she thinks it's Tommy. Bam! Holy shit, it's Abby. No, holy shit, it's Eddie. And this is kind of like the puzzle story where like they intersect.
Please provide me with more context. I need to know what you like that refers to.
Get away from me, man. Anyway, this is the point of the story where like intersects for like a bit. That's the best I could show it. Now this is the part that really irks me. Like at this point, like we've been playing Abby for like I don't even know, maybe like 3-4 hours, maybe more. I don't know. That's like half the game. And we haven't even cut back to Ellie or Ellie's story. And now we, as Abby, have to shoot at Ellie. Okay, listen. 30 minutes or 3 days, I don't care. If I was playing, okay, I don't care how long I was playing Abby. If I was playing, I would still want Ellie to survive, okay? I understand the whole game is about showing like two sides of the coin. Fuck it. I'll get into more details about it like later in the video, but it just doesn't seem best for a game that is a sequel, to show this. But at the same time, this is the only game that can show it like this, How it's like a rug pull, like the person you're going for or like supporting, bam, bad person, it's a cool concept for a story. For a game, it ends with Abby injuring both Ellie and Dina, only letting them go because like Lev was like, stop. And of course, we get to the farmhouse, months in the future that we all know. This is where all beloved franchises would end, Such a nice, relaxing time, Living together with sheep and also with the farmhouse that Dina was talking about and always wanted, and they take care of JJ. But then there's also like a bit of PTSD that Ellie has about, seeing Joel like die right in front of her, right? But for the most part, it's a good life. It's a good life, she could probably get through that in the future. Right? Sometime later, Tommy comes to visit them, see JJ and all cute, and mentions that, him and Maria are just split, just taking time off from each other, before...
He told me about a woman that he traded with while he was moving through California. Described her as built like an ox, traveling with a kid with scars across his face. He said they're living along this coast in a beach sailboat right here.
Tina says no. Like, correctly, yeah. But Ellie, she's thinking about, she's dwelling on it, okay? We also get the actual events of the party, the night before Joel gets killed, something that we haven't seen so far. And, we have lesbians kissing, woo! Chapel Road. So they get told off by Seth, another guy, and Joel shoves him away, and Eddie's like, why I can hold my own, what the flip, man? And she says like, I don't need your help, and then she goes away mad, and Joel just like, I'm sorry, okay, not like that, but like he's like, he doesn't express much, Ellie leaves Dina, who says,
I'm not gonna do this again.
I'm guessing she's talking about, not going with Ellie again, leaving their home behind to get revenge for Joel. Because that's what she did at the very start of the sequel, right? So Ellie just leaves without her, on the other side of this coin. Abby and Lev, they find hope. They get confirmation of Fireflies like starting to get back together again in Santa Barbara. And before getting caught by these guys, I'm guessing cannibals, it looks almost exactly like when Ellie was bound while forced to watch Joel die, with, now showing Abby and Lev. Now Ellie, hot on Abby's trail, finds these same guys and shoots them, The downed guy gives info about Abby and says that, they picked her up like a few months ago. And these people that we see are the Rattlers, and there's so many people in this. And these Rattlers seem to be big fans of the Dutch East India Company. That's just a guess. But yeah, some of the escaped prisoners tell Ellie about the pillars that Abby is now bound to somewhere down at the beach. Now here, which is a scary looking place, we see Ellie cut down Abby, and Lev is also rescued. And Abby tells where the boats are, she wants to leave with Ellie because technically she saved her, right? And while escape is right there in front of Abby, within her grasp, right? The image of Joel flashes into her brain, you know? The image of Joel flashes back into her brain, and this ominous sound plays, Abby is now the only one, I guess, that's in the right here. She doesn't want to fight. She has someone to live for, Lev. Ellie, on the other hand, doesn't really, Dina doesn't want to support her, instead focusing on JJ. Tommy's in no shape to come, and, Joel, he's gone. There's nothing there. I don't know what I'm looking at. They fight for a long time, tooth, nail, and two of Ellie's fingers before she stops because the remorse she feels and lets him go, you know? Back at the farmhouse, it's cleared out, looks just like another place abandoned after the outbreak, and it looks like all the things that reminded Dina of Ellie has been shoved in a corner of the house, away, hidden from everything. Days, the song that was played on the guitar, the only thing that still connected Ellie to Joel and what she wanted to pass on to JJ, hopefully, not fully being able to be played by her ever since her search for revenge, And during the final shot of that night, the flashback, the final piece, you all know it. Them talking, her and Joel, Ellie not being able to forgive Joel for that day at the hospital, taking her out, but wanting to try because she cares. And he cares too, He's almost in tears just listening to the fact that it's going to get better with her and she might just forgive him with time. Now, I know a lot of people don't understand why, like, she didn't forgive him back at the cabin, He saved her life and all, but, like, I can sympathize because, like, imagine this, right? You're Ellie. Everyone around you has been dying since you were young. First Riley, then Tess, then the brothers. They all died indirectly because of the virus. Okay, Riley got bit with Ellie and she probably shot her when the virus didn't get her, Tess got bit and convinced Joel to keep Ellie on the path to the Fireflies because she believed in Ellie being the start of the vaccine, the start of help for humanity and the solution, and save them by pushing back against the military. The brothers Henry and Sam worked with them both to traverse the country and like reach the Fireflies before, Sam is found to have been bitten and attack Ellie and having to be shot by Henry before turning the gun on himself, okay? After hesitation, but he knew that was exactly what Joel would do if it was Ellie in his place. Now, all these people could have been saved if they weren't bitten first, and they all played a part in Ellie's life, saving her and putting her on this path. I would be mad too, if I was saved, even though I could have died to save the many. Probably has some form of survivor's guilt because of this, and you just have to sympathize with that, especially when you're so ready to sacrifice yourself and you instead just get pulled away. You had to live with that guilt for so long. Review time. Anyway, let's see what other people thought of the reviews, from all the way to like yesterday, all the way back to like 5 years ago. Let's just read through them, Let's start off with this game is a slap in the face. This game is a slap in the face. This game is a slap in the face. I think it might be a slap in the face. Why are they reposting it? They said that they really hated this game, but it all seems to be very recently that they're all reposting it. So let's not talk about that, I guess. Let's see. Let's see what exactly is a slap in the face. This guy says he wants to repost it because can't explain it. That the game is absolutely trash. And the first was such a great game until Neil Druckmann had to ruin it completely. Also, Troy Baker, there's definitely a better way out story for Joel. Unfortunately, Last of Us 1 was the beginning and end of a great story. So let's look at the copy pasta, I guess. This game is a slap in the face to everyone that loved the first game. Do not buy this and save your money. Okay? The truth and context of this game is much worse than the leaks. There were leaks? I didn't even realize that. Before I get into one of the worst stories ever, the gameplay is very average in today's modern gaming generation. Okay, yeah, that's fair. There are minor improvements from the first game and enemy AI is dumb as ever. There should be like harder difficulties. There are more cutscenes and walking than actual gameplay. Okay, yeah, true. Spoiler alert, they destroyed all of your favorite characters. They dumbed down Joel's character on purpose to make him weak and stupid. Boo. In the first game, he was very smart and had tons of experience. He didn't even trust the guy that was sick on the road. He chose to run him over. Later, we find out that strangers on the road were not sick and it was all a setup. Okay, the ambush. They do everything to make you dislike Joel and continue to spit on him. They have a trans female male shoot him in... What? They have a trans female male shoot him in the leg and thought... They have a trans female male shoot him in the leg. Left didn't shoot in... Abby? They have a trans female male, Abby apparently, shoot him in the leg and torture him with a golf club right in the first 2 hours of the game. They spit on him literally. Did they? Oh yeah, they did. They made Ellie unlikable and a selfish human being. She kills everyone and continue to blame Joel for saving her life. I explained some of that a bit. She gets so much in saving humanity because she has the immunity. But was that all? Where the hell is the rest? Okay, that was all I had apparently. Okay. 5 stars. This guy. I went in blind and never watched the spoilers. Didn't stay on the internet much before Thread. I should probably talk about the previous one. Trans female male? Who? Abby is cis. Straight. Yeah, that's it actually. Yeah, trans female male. Okay. Went in blind, never watched the spoilers. Didn't stay on the internet much before its release, and as soon as I finish it, I want to talk about it so badly. So naturally, I went to Reddit, and oh my god, I couldn't believe what the heck happened because personally, I really love the game, and everyone seems to hate it. First mistake, going on Reddit. Walkthroughs on YouTube. The game, I noticed more and more positive feedbacks as each day passed, predominantly on the PS4 sub. And The Last of Us 1. Also, the Metacritic score went up from 5 from a 3.2, leading me to believe that the initial reaction was mostly composed of online trolls with nothing better to do. That's not to say that there aren't persons who generally don't like the game, but usually they came in as more civil and respectful to other people's opinions. From a technical point of view, with that said, I really love the story as well. The big spoilers ahead. Midway switched to Abby clicked with me. Eventually, I ended up liking her. By the final chapters, I was seriously hoping Ellie won't kill her. Not only because I liked Abby and Lev as characters, but because it would mean the definitive downfall of a protagonist in my opinion. The sudden pop of Joel's memory as she was suffocating Abby to death was a representation of how Ellie acknowledged that she was using revenge as a coping... Okay, he already got what I found out recently. Maybe I don't have to do this video. Wouldn't fix her. Killing Abby wouldn't fix her issues. Great character development. Takes great willpower to control your rage. The ending was actually bittersweet, touched by a note of hope, showing us that the main thing was actually forgiveness. Maybe it hit me differently because I'm trying to leave aside my toxic solutions and attitude. It keeps going. All in all, this is a 10 out of 10 for me. The pacing at times could have been better. Yeah. But other than that, it's a really good game. Definitely a must to have at least when it's on sale. Okay, the pacing is definitely a big problem for this. The pacing, I feel like the pacing would be better for a movie or show, i.e. The Last of Us show. It's a lot of cutscenes, there's not much gameplay, and if you want to go for more gameplay, you could probably just play the original Last of Us. Yeah. 8 hours of cutscenes is so long just to sit there. You might as well just watch a movie or TV show. I really hope that for the TV show they kind of break it up a bit more. Between Abby and Ellie, kind of maybe hide the reason or hide who Abby is maybe a bit so that she doesn't get introduced so late. I think that's another problem because like you're already at a disadvantage of making a antagonist to Ellie, someone we all love from the first game. So you're giving her more of a disadvantage when you introduce her later in the story and make her more of a human later in the story, I guess. But yeah, pacing big issue, you know. Expose it. Oh, fuck. Now, for the next part, which is what I would like to see in the show, what they change, what they keep, blah blah blah. I think so far, it is a pretty good basis to make a story on, you know. As I've said already in this video so many times, this is less better for a game and more better for a story, you know, especially for a TV show where you can actually like flesh out the characters and so on. So starting from the front, delay Joel's death at least a bit, you know. You want the characters, us, I'm referring to us as the characters, you want us to kind of reborn with Joel and Tommy and Ellie once again. It's been, you know, a few years, 2 years since the first season came out, 7 years since the first game came out. So it'd be nice to just reconnect maybe some of those flashbacks that we saw in the game, like visiting the dinosaur museum place thingy, visiting some other places, maybe going on like the whatever with Tommy and so on. That would have been fun to put at the start of the thing, you know, kind of bring the audience back in, you know, hit us in the feels. Well, this is going to be hard because like it'll be tough when you have like 5 different flashbacks, you know. You got Abby when she was young, Abby when she was in Seattle along with Ellie in Seattle, Ellie and Joel in Jackson, like their previous life, then Joel's death if it is as a flashback, and then you had the party. There's so many flashbacks, it's gonna get confusing. So you know, it's good to like tweak it a bit, I guess. I remember someone on Reddit said it was a Greek tragedy. I can't remember right now, so I'll go back to it. It would be nice if, like, let's say they slowly showed how Joel got killed, or like how they found out it was Joel that was killed. Like that one person said, maybe we don't know who Abby is actually going for. You know, it's like slowly comes in through us, and then we're like, oh my god, it's him. Or we have the Ellie's revenge scene, and maybe we don't know who she's getting revenge for, or maybe we don't know how Joel actually died, and then you have like flashbacks of how he died, like in the whatever golfing way. So that would be more of a shock to viewers. What else? Side characters. I want to see more of Jesse. I want to know more about Dina. I want to know more about Maria. I want to know more about Maria and Tommy. I want to know more about the other friends that Abby has. Other side. I want to know more about Abby's friends. I want to know how it was, how the military thing was. We've only seen a few parts. Like, it's more military. It's more militaristic, and it would be nice to know to what extent it is. You know, we see a bit of the game that even to their own side, even to Abby when she was trying to leave, they start torturing information around out of her and her crew. Okay, so this is less of like a family group setting, like maybe closer to Jackson, and more of like you are there to work. You know, you are just a soldier for them. It'd be nice to touch on that once again. The WLF versus the Wolf versus the Seraphites, the Scars. It'd be great to learn more about them. We heard more about the Fireflies in the first game. It'd be nice to know about the other groups that seem to pop up, maybe about the cannibal groups also, to kind of get a sense of like what really happens when a world is in disarray. I can kind of see these groups kind of coming out when there is such an apocalypse like this. Nobody trusts each other. They're gonna make cults, they're gonna make groups, they're gonna make whatever, and some of them are gonna try and see themselves as the saviors of whatever. So it makes sense. I just really wish they touched on it more. What else? We know that the show is good at that. We've seen it in Bill's episode. They can flesh out the side characters for us to care about it. So I really hope they do. Okay, this is the post on r/the subreddit Last of Us. Shut up, bro. In the past, I read someone describe part 2 as one big Greek tragedy. Do you think this is accurate? Someone said all archetypal stories have origins in Greek. Do I look like a historian? I have no clue. Anyway, what I wanted to touch on that is, this is definitely a Greek tragedy. You did not see my leg there. This is definitely a Greek tragedy. Come on. Abby's father gets killed, revenge on Ellie. Ellie's father figure gets killed, revenge on Abby. Abby's family is killed, revenge on Ellie. Ellie and Dina get hurt. They think, okay, we're good. Ellie gets revenge on Abby. In the middle of that revenge, she's like, Abby loses her, family. Ellie loses her family, JJ and Dina. Abby gets saved, I guess, because, they were most likely gonna die in the pillars. So it's it's a lot of back and forth. It is a Greek tragedy, at the start, she's just trying to... No, at the start, Abby wants to die, she wants to be used for a vaccine. She's not allowed to. The opportunity is missed. That's not even her fault. That is like Joel's whatever fault, I guess. Okay? And it's not... I feel like it is a good choice, but you understand what I mean. Because of that choice that she didn't make, Abby kills Joel years after they've settled and they're like friends. And for a while that that they're like both sides of the same coin, looking for Joel for years. Abby is like kind of like in the back, it's on the back burner, but she's still thinking about it. She's still going after it. Even Owen is like, stop, bro. On the other side, after the run-in with Abby, Ellie, she has found us. She's living out her lesbian dreams, okay? And suddenly, she's getting like flashbacks still, okay? And then Tommy, he's still not over going over for revenge. He's still like, trying to be like, Ellie, just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it, So now she's thinking about it months after that whole thing, okay? And like in the end, they both get to a point where, they try to leave each other alone. It's still stuck in there, living rent-free right here. So, yeah. Also, Ellie kind of pushes away Dina when she's like in revenge mode, like how Joel pushes away Ellie when she asks about the Fireflies and immunity, He wants to protect the lie so strongly, but he doesn't want to keep lying again and again because it hurts him, right? And like how he used the dead bodies of the kids at that one flashback scene to kind of move the situation away or try and protect him from like actually answering the questions about the Fireflies and immunity and what actually happened at that place, the hospital back there. And in the same way, like Ellie, whenever she's on the revenge for Joel, she's trying to get to like other places or whatever, she kind of pushes Dina away. They also have like the fight, there's also the kind of like not caring about other people's safety, like Jesse or like Tommy, when back in that certain area when like Tommy might have been in trouble and Jesse goes for him, and Ellie just kind of continues on her mission to get Abby and the crew. There's also the very end at the farmhouse, Dina, she knows it's not a good idea, Tommy's saying, oh, go, she's right there, she's like getting killed, Abby. And Dina immediately, she's like, nope, nah, we ain't doing that anymore. And Ellie, she's thinking about it, she's like so waking up in the middle of the night thinking about it. And when she's like, you know what, I'm gonna go after them. And Dina's like, are you stupid? Like, she keeps justifying going after over and over and over and over again after Abby and the crew, because they killed her dad, her father figure, even though Dina has seen with her own eyes that them being almost killed because they went for revenge against Abby's crew, and Abby, rightfully angry about that, goes after them. They almost die, and like she knows this, probably for the best to stay away. And at the end of the day, this is a story about Ellie and Abby, different versions of basically like the same person. They both have military backgrounds. They want to sacrifice themselves for like the greater good of humanity. They've seen a lot of people die in front of them. They both have friend groups. We see them both being humanized in different ways, and like they have their own like missions that they want to do in their friend group, blah blah blah. And they both have grudges against each other that start to spiral into this horrific like feedback loop between the both of them. And like by the end, we only see this spiral just start to like stop because of Lev. Then we have Ellie's like flashback of Joel come in, and she's like, oh my god, I am the reason, I'm one of the reasons why this keeps spiraling down and down and down. And by then it's made her life way worse, and she's just sitting there in the water. She's just absolutely so depressed and sad because everything that she would have, her old self would have been so happy about is just gone. She had it and she let go of it because of revenge, and I believe that no other story other than The Last of Us can do something like this. It's a very hard balance to achieve between killing a character that is a fan favorite. It's like one of the most well-known characters, killing one of the most well-known characters, hurting over and over and over again another very well-known character and a fan favorite, bringing in another character that immediately becomes like a fan hatred. I don't think that I use a correct fan like hatred-ist or whatever, and having to balance it to a point to show that they're the same people and this story is the same for each side, and it's affecting both of them over and over again. And by the end, Ellie she becomes like Joel. She gets the worst parts of Joel through being forced, not really forced, but thinking that she's being forced to take back his revenge, seeing him get killed right in front of her, becoming more and more like him, with making people talk like him and Tommy do, being more aggressive towards the end when she's getting more and more of Abby's crew, and being so overtaken by revenge. She's just becomes the very worst parts of Joel. I hope the show keeps these themes. They keep the characters, maybe build on them also, build the surrounding world. We don't see that much. I want to see more of the side characters. I want to see more about the internal dialogue and conflict of Ellie and Abby. I want to see Joel's a more like calm state, you know, how he actually enjoyed living at Jackson with his family. I wanna see like more about how Ellie feels, how Dina feels, how Jesse feels, how Tommy feels. I want to be able to see as a viewer very clearly about how revenge is destroying each and every one of them. This horrifying feedback loop. And I think that The Last of Us Season 2 will probably deliver on this. Well, that's all. That's all I can think of. That's it. You know, we see that The Last of Us isn't a story about zombies or anything. That's way far in the past. We've gone past that. Not once in this video have I really talked much about the different types of zombies or like how the cordyceps work or so on and so forth, because this is a human story. This is a story about the human psyche. This is a story about how we think, how Ellie has went from like someone who's more innocent, who has to upgrade, who has to become more ruthless and less trusting of people, all the way to just being a shell of herself, or some shell or amalgamation of the worst parts that we've seen in Joel, because of the revenge and because of the trauma of seeing him get brutally murdered right in front of her. And you know, it shows about the different sides of a story, what each person sees, and only Last of Us can do that. You know. So I hope you finish watching this video. I hope you watch the new season. I'm not sponsored. Please sponsor me, but I'm not sponsored. And goodbye.